This is the Mental Mettle Podcast, and I am your host, Coach Thomann. I'm a former athlete, teacher, coach, and athletic director that switched careers after surviving cancer and a stroke in the fall of 2020. But I'm also a dad of a son and a daughter that were successful high school athletes that went on to college. Now I use that experience along with my ICF coaching certification when helping teams, coaches, and athletes from all over the country. Each week, I will pose a specific question that will help coaches of all types better understand mental toughness. In the Mental Mettle Podcast, coaches will learn to help their athletes overcome adversity without being the adversity they need to overcome. Mettle is a person's ability to face adversity in a spirited and resilient manner. It is a great skill to have for athletics and for life, but it is not something we are born with. If you want it, you have to forge your mettle. And if you listen to the Mental Mettle Podcast, you already know that, but not everybody else does yet. So help me out by ordering and wearing some sweet The Mental Mettle Podcast gear. We've got short sleeve tees, long sleeve tees, and some super comfortable hoodies. Order online today and you can have your gear in no time. But the best part is that every order helps support the show and helps me spread the message that mental toughness is a trait that can and should be built. So find the link in the show notes, order your gear, and start showing that you know how to forge your mettle. And welcome back to the Mental Mettle Podcast. I am here with my guest today, Coach Ryan Thornton. Ryan's been a good friend of mine now for a couple years. And if you're from the Central Illinois, I know I got a lot of fans, a lot of people that listen from the Central Illinois area. You're probably familiar with Ryan and his exploits as a high school basketball player. Had a really good career, went on, played some college ball, and now he's back in Central Illinois doing some coaching. And the topic today is there's so many different ways I could go talking with Coach Thornton. He had a great high school career. He went to college. He bounced around a little bit and changed some schools. He also played high school for his dad, a legendary coach, which that's a whole fun topic as well. Now he's coaching boys high school. He's an assistant and he does girls golf. We could talk about the difference between girls and boys, and we could talk about the difference between basketball and golf and the mentality there. We could talk, and we might talk about that. And then also I had an opportunity to coach Ryan a little bit. I do some coaching with coaches. It's the same kind of process I use with athletes and others, and the same kind of idea. And Ryan was game for it, so I coached him, and we could talk about that. And we might talk about all of that. Some of it, none of it. I don't know where we're going to go, but there's a lot of topics here, and I guess that's my job as a host is to keep us on track. But Let me just start by saying, welcome, Coach. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. For those that I don't want to make too braggadocious here, but tell me a little bit about your high school career, because I know you guys had a great career playing for your dad and at IVC. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was super blessed, to be able to not only play for him, but to play with four of my best friends that, I consider brothers. It was like a family thing, really. And I can remember playing with those guys and my dad coaching us from third grade on, in little tournaments and things like that, which was super, super special. And, you can look back on it now as an old man like myself, and we're like, man, those are the best times. Before we even got to high school.
Easy on the old man.
I
get it.
I get it a lot at school. I get called old all the time, but that's all right.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we kind of laid the groundwork before we got to high school. And then when we got there, we're walking into the Middle Illini as a Class A team. We're the only Class A team. This was two classes at the time. It was
right.
Double A and A, and we are the only Class A team walking into the Lions' Den of the Middle Illini, and we took our lumps. And I remember winning one game in the conference. One game. It was at Morton, which was sweet. I always loved beating Morton at Morton. And they were the number one team at the time, and we beat them. And it was like euphoria. It was like, okay, like we're gonna get through this. It was a tough freshman year, and we stayed with it. We all stayed with the journey, with the process. A lot of times, if you have an unsuccessful season, the easiest thing to do is turn and run from it. We didn't run from it. We worked at it, and by the time our senior year came, we were kind of battle tested and ready to go. And I can now kind of look back on the biggest mistake that I made in high school. Junior year regional championship, I got really frustrated because I wasn't playing well, and a call didn't go my way. I went off. I got a technical foul, and my dad took me out and made me sit the rest of the game. And I watched them lose. And I'm like, okay, I got to figure something out. I got to change.
Now, this was a regional
championship. We're the number 1 seed.
My goodness!
Yeah, we're playing Eureka. We had beaten them by 20 in the earlier on in the regular season.
What year was that?
2005. They went on to the Elite Eight. So like we watched them make the march that we thought we would make, because we were the number 1 seed.
Yeah,
and it was the best thing to happen to me by far and away. I had a lot to work on that summer. Not only basketball wise, but to restore trust within my teammates. I hurt them a lot. I know I did. I had difficult conversations with all of them. I think the most difficult conversation, though, was with my dad. After the season, there was a lot of stuff that was pent up because it wasn't just a one moment thing. This was a whole year of high, low, high, low, high, low. And you can't run like that. You can't, there's no real success that's going to come from that. And he and I had to have a real, heart to heart conversation of, when we're in basketball, it's coach player. When we're at home, it's father son. And we didn't do a great job. And I'll take a lot of the blame.
Yeah. And just a lot of kudos to your dad. I'm sure he had a rule about, you get a technical, you're out of the game, and he held to it. And that had to be a really hard thing to do. I'm sure a tough conversation. Yeah. And then, but then the fact that you can, let me go back. You went back and watched the tape. Was it a bad call or not?
No, it wasn't. It was a lot of frustration on my part. I felt like I just, I know I went in with a bad mentality. Like I can own all of that now. I think as you get older, you're able to look back and be a little bit more honest with yourself. But I went in with a bad mentality in that game because I just felt like, hey, like we'll get through this. It's nothing. Like we've already beat them. It is what it is. I was just trying to get through that game to move on, and that's not the way you need to approach games. Number one, and number two, when you're approaching a postseason game, you better take it possession by possession because a couple of bad ones, you're getting beat. And those are great. I mean, those are just unbelievable learning experiences for me and our team. And my dad and I had a real life hard conversation that night. I was ready to be done. I just wasn't having any fun, and he knew it. And I had kind of told a few of the guys, like, you know what, you guys would be better off without me. You'll just be better off without me. You don't need me. And I kind of got told, like, stop that. Like, you're not doing that. This is what you've been wanting to do your whole life. When the teacher would ask you, like, what's your dream? I wouldn't put the NBA. I want to play at IBC. I want to play like players like my dad had. Like Micah Ogburn was his Division I guy. He was my hero. That was my guy. I would go to practice and just watch him. I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure that speaks into you're giving yourself. You're saying you're trying to own a lot of it, and I agree, and that's perfect. That's very commendable of you to own it. But we're talking about a 17-year-old kid, right, with a lot of pressure. Oh yeah. Some of that pressure you put on yourself. Some of that pressure is put on you by your dad. Quite honestly, the family, because it's part of the deal.
Sure.
It's the pressure put on you by the community, by the pressure put on the other players, by the media, by like it's understandable. It's
Right.
understandable how you quite honestly can crack under that pressure. And I think that it's fine to look back at it now with an adult's mentality and be like, oh, I did this the wrong way and I wish I'd have done this. But it's a lot to ask. And we ask a lot of kids
Yeah.
in those situations to just, and then expect them to be perfect.
Right. And I'm happy I went through it now just because it made me grow. I mean, it definitely did. I wouldn't have been able to get through senior year without those experiences. And, when we got to senior year, it was the 5 senior starters and we had a freshman coming off the bench. Now, granted, he was an exceptional athlete. He's probably the second best athlete on our team. But man, were we in sync that entire year? I mean, it didn't matter. We played a game at home against Washington. Washington was number 4 in the state. I think we were number 5 in the state, and crowd was packed. Game went back and forth. Goes to overtime, and we win. And we get in the locker room, and it's like, okay, this could be special. Like we're winning these games now against quality opponents like that. And they had Matt Roth, who went to Indiana. They had a stacked team. Super, super good. I mean, they were really good. The league was really good. And just going through that year, but then looking back now and going through it with your best friends, I mean, you just can't put price
And I
on
don't
that.
think, and I think going back to that that regional game, had he, put you back in the game and let you play and you win the game, it's not the lesson it is the other way around.
Not at all.
And I know that's cliche. It's not about the winning and losing, but you definitely took a loss there to learn a lesson and to get future wins in life.
100%. Oh, 100%. Yeah. No question about that. And,
and then did you guys end up runner-ups that senior year?
Second. Yeah, we got second. So that was when, I'll never forget this. We played, so the team that we beat in the quarterfinal of the state, because the way the state tournament was set up, and I think you remember this, it was you'd get to quarterfinal Friday, and if you didn't win, you go home, and it's like you're not even a part of the state tournament. You don't get a trophy.
Yeah, it was such a bad deal,
crazy.
right?
It was. I loved it. Yeah. But that's me because I grew up going to the state tournament and watching Manual Central and those teams and just being like, oh, this is it right here. This is what I want to do.
Right.
And so we played North Lawndale during that season, and they were a private school out of Chicago.
Right.
And they ran a full court press on us, and I swear I was like, there's like 9 guys out here.
Yeah.
They ran, I mean, it was like, oh my God, this is okay. We're in trouble. And so we beat Forreston in the Supers by 32, right? 32 points. We came off a sectional where we won by 3 and 4 in overtime. So we were like, okay, thank God we don't have another close game here. We can just kind of enjoy this moment and kind of enjoy everything else before that, right? So we're on the charter bus home from Moline. My dad stops the movie. We were watching Friday Night Lights. I'll never forget it because he stops it during a part that I love. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, all right, boys, we got North Lawndale on Friday. And the mood just went like, okay, now we got to like re-lock in.
Yeah.
And we were so fortunate that we had Coach Chuck Westendorf on our side. He won 4 state championships with Manual, and he won 2 with Central. And he was just he was just so great at getting us going. And we got to practice at the field house. I feel so bad for kids that never got to play there. It's the greatest gym of all time. And we walk in and we're getting ready to practice to go against North Lawndale. And Coach Westendorf pulls out a first place medal. I don't know from what year, but he says, this is your focus. He goes, this is your only focus. You're not here for second. This is what you're here for. And you could hear a pin drop. And we're just like, yep, yes, we are. We're locked in. We're ready to go. We had like 8 guys practice against the press. And we figured something out. Like we put our one of our guards, Chris Shinley, he was 6'4", super great athlete, quarterback of the football team, really good pitcher in baseball, just an unbelievable athlete. and he's super smart basketball player, and we put him on the top of our press. He could see over everybody, and he would throw it. And I could find little cracks in their zone press, and he'd throw it over the top of these guys, and I would catch, be ready to shoot, boom. And Westy told my dad, he goes, "Boy, I hope he shoots it like that on Friday." My dad was like, "That'd be really nice if he did." And that was the game that I had 30, scored 30 in that game. That was really cool. But I think the best part not only was the win, but there's a picture that was on the front page of the paper. We still have it today. I'm sitting there and I'm looking, kind of like I got a faraway look in my eye, and my dad's like this talking to me, and people are like, "Is he just telling you like great game? You had 30, it was awesome."
No.
I said, "No, he's kind of calling me an asshole, telling me to stop shooting."
I'm
Because
sure.
we were up, and I saw that I had 28, and this was the only time that year I was really kind of selfish. Like, I got to get 30. He'd always take me out. He'd take me out. I'd have 29, I'd have 28, 27. I'd be out. I'd come out, and I'm like, oh. So a kid on the bench was like, "Yo, you got 28, man. Like, if you can get the ball and get 30, this place is going to go crazy." I'm like, bet. Get a rebound, I outlet it, and my buddy Tyler Anderson's standing right there, and I'm like, Tyler, give me the ball. Boom, one dribble, pull up, bang, drill it, and then I foul at the other end and stop the clock, and I just hear it, and I just never forget it. He's Ryan. I'm like, yep. There's one voice that sounds like that. That's him.
Yeah. Did he pull you?
Jogging over there, and he's just like, "You are done shooting the basketball. You are done for the day. You've done enough." And I'm like, "Yes, sir.
Come on, Dad."
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
but yeah,
sir.
that's it. That was his job, right? He was doing
100%.
his job too. Absolutely, 100%. I get it.
100%. We got in the tunnel outside. Yeah. He gave me a big hug. Everything was great, but it was just funny. I mean, that was just our relationship, because I was a shooter, and you understand, you live with a shooter who, in my opinion, best shooter I've ever coached.
Yeah.
Mr.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
I love, he was my guy. So same mentality. That's probably why we got along so well.
Yeah.
But anytime I got off the bus, I'm open, ready to go. That's going in.
Well, I think you have to have that. I think you have to have that if you're to be a shooter. Like you just have to. And I 100%. Think that, what did I hear the other day? I heard, I can't remember what announcer said just because somebody was struggling, a shooter was struggling, and he said, "Hey, just because they're not going in doesn't mean they're not going up." And I'm that's like, right. And there's a little bit of selfish to that, but I think it also lends into your role on that team was the shooter, right?
Yes.
So, if that's your role and you're not shooting, you're not doing your role. Now, if you're not a shooter, if you're a rebounder, we don't want you to have the shooter of a confidence of a shooter if you can't shoot. Right?
100%. And I mean, why our team worked out so well was I knew my role was to shoot it. Zach McAllister, who everybody knows, big time baseball player, pitched in the World Series, played for Cleveland. Zach was an unbelievable basketball player. He worked his tail off and turned himself into an all-state basketball player his senior year. Yeah. Without that, we're not at the state tournament.
Right.
All of our pieces, all 5, worked as one to get us to where we needed to get to. It wasn't just me or Zach or Chris. It was all of us, right? Yeah. It was everybody. And, Zach would want to shoot threes in practice, and we'd be like, "All right, well, don't do that in the game, because you're not a 3-point shooter."
That wasn't his role.
And you know your role. You're going to go down and dominate and get 20 points and 10 rebounds down low and just be a monster. And he was. And he was elite. He was elite.
Yeah. Mental Mettle coaching is driven by a passion for sharing knowledge and experience that will allow athletes and coaches to grow, play, and live in a positive way. We offer a range of coaching and professional development services. First and foremost, we offer individual mental coaching for athletes, and it's easily the most efficient and effective way to help athletes replace fear and anxiety with positivity and confidence. Mental Mettle coaching has helped middle school setters to high school lacrosse middies to D1 offensive linemen. If you have an athlete that needs to improve their mindset in athletics, mental coaching is the answer. We also offer team coaching, which uses the same concepts as individual mental coaching, but applies them in a group setting. Team bonding outings are great, but they do nothing to address the thoughts and feelings that can derail a team. Team coaching does address that, and it's a great option for helping your team grow. Finally, Mental Mettle Coaching offers social, emotional learning, professional development programs for educators and coaches. There are self-paced online programs, there are virtual coaching options, and even in-person seminars available. This PD will help increase the mental health of your staff and eventually your student athletes and the culture of your school. All of the Mental Mettle coaching programs have the same goal. Our mission is to help athletes and coaches develop a resilient and spirited mindset that will help them confidently face any obstacles or challenges they seek, regardless of their situation. If you would like to see the same in your athlete, your team, and your staff, contact Coach Thomann for more information. So then talk to me a little bit about what always happens with, not always, but anybody who's a really good high school athlete, then you go to college and all of a sudden things change. Right?
Oh, it was different right from the jump.
But
what was weird?
You got to try to keep that mentality, even though your role changes.
Yeah,
it's hard.
You want
it's
to.
hard.
Now, unfortunately for me, I grew about 7 inches in high school. So as I'm trying to lift weights and get bigger, I'm growing and I can't put any weight on. So I was 180 pounds as I graduated from high school, and I'm
at 6'7", right?
At 6'7", and I look sick. Like I don't look healthy. So I walked in with the mentality of like, number one, I got my first Division I offer the last game of the regular season at East Peoria, where I'm coaching now, which is kind of funny. Like I know the spot on the floor where they offered it to me. It's crazy. And they had been talking to me for like 2 weeks. It was I don't know. It was a lot going on. And so when Milwaukee offered me, I looked at that team as like, okay, they're coming off an NCAA tournament bid. They won a game. They lost to the national champions in Florida, which there's no shame in that. They were joking Noah, those teams, unbelievable. And so I'm walking in going, looking at myself, being honest with myself. There's no way I'm playing as a freshman, true freshman.
Right.
I got a red shirt. I got to do whatever. So I kind of was just thinking I'm going to red shirt, and I mentioned that, and they're looking at me like, you don't want to play? And I'm like, So I started to think, like, do they really have a plan for me, right? Like, is there really, like, a plan out there for me or whatever? And it was just a bad fit from the get-go. It was a lot. It was a lot going on. When you go from winning a lot of your games to winning 9 games that year and playing against at Michigan, Wisconsin, Missouri State was number 20 something in the country. We go over there and just get blitzed by them. We were playing a schedule that didn't benefit our team. We had hardly any experience. We had a few guys that played college basketball before, but nobody who really played together, and you could tell right away like it's going to be a rough one.
So it wasn't a great fit for you, and I commend you for doing that. But this is before the portal.
Before the portal, no question about it.
So you just had to.
What was crazy was like, I had kind of lost my love for it too. It was a lot going on. I did not make a really good connection with the head coach. The assistant coach that recruited me, love him to death. He's at Western Illinois now, Coach Chad Boudreau. I always had a great relationship with him. But there was just a lot going on in Milwaukee where I couldn't see myself there anymore. And, I didn't see a role for myself. And it became something where basketball became a job for the first time in my life. And again, I'm 19 and I'm really faced with a lot of adversity. And I didn't know what I wanted to do after that year. I was like, do I even want to play anymore? And I was really fortunate that Coach Les at Bradley had a spot for me and basically was like, you can come. You're going to obviously redshirt and walk on, but see if you can find your love for the game again. And you're going to practice every single day with a really good team in the Missouri Valley and Bradley. and you get to practice in the field house every day.
Yeah.
That was the last
Which
year
is
of the
great.
field house.
Yeah.
Which was great. And I'm back home, and I'm back around some people that I know, and they had a coach on staff at the time, Steve Murfeld. You see him every March Madness because he was the head coach at Hampton when they were a 15 seed and they beat Iowa State, and his players
Yeah.
lift him up in the air like that.
Yeah.
Coach Murfeld was like my favorite coach in college because his energy was unbelievable every single day. Like an 8 a.m. practice after like a back-to-back. He's like, let's go. We're ready to go. Hey, I need everything from you guys. And he would like go down the line with guys that weren't playing a lot. And he'd really just try to fire them up and just be like, hey, I need this from you today. And like a lot of times he'd come to me and be like, Ryan, this guy that we're going to play does this off of a ball screen. I need you to get open and make some shots and do this. And he was just really like, giving you something to work on that day. And
being intentional, intentional with his energy, be intentional with his energy and what he wanted from you, which is, I mean, that's what a coach ought to be
100%.
doing, right?
Yeah, 100%. And, I knew, Coach Les had his whole starting five in rotation to worry about. So I wasn't never, like, how is Coach Les going to talk to me? No, he's got so much stuff to worry about and trying to win a Missouri Valley tournament and conference. So, Coach Murfeld was just so great. He helped get the love back for me. And, I would have stayed there, but I got a call from UIS and Coach Kevin Gamble, offered me scholarship to come over there and play. And I walked into a team that was just so talented. It was the most talented team I think I'd ever been around. A lot of guys from Division I's. We were NAIA for the last year. The year I walked in, Division I NAIA, transitioning to the GLVC, and it was an eye opener because coming off of a redshirt year, you lose so much of that game experience.
Yeah.
So I remember getting into a game and feeling like, and I'd been playing all summer, playing pickup, playing all this, and I get into an actual game, and I feel like it's the first one I've ever played.
Isn't it amazing how, and I'm doing some reading. I was reading a book recently and just talking about how one of the misnomers with confidence is that once you develop confidence, you just have confidence. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Like it's this constant, roller coaster, right? And you can be confident in one thing.
Yeah.
And very unconfident in something else. And even something you used to do, but the situation changes. And it is just it's a never ending cycle of fighting to have confidence.
No doubt about it. And that was a year that I was trying to find it. And when I kind of had the expectation, like, all right, I'm going to come in, we had a ton of seniors and I was cool with coming off the bench and trying to find my role. And I think I kind of had found it there for a game, like a few games stretch, and we were winning. And then all of a sudden I got bronchitis, which turned into like walking pneumonia, and I tried to play through it. Don't ever do that because like I had to go spend some time in the hospital in Springfield, and my season was done. Yeah. Right when it kind of felt like it got started. So I was super frustrated then. The next year was like our transition year to Division II. That was our first year of the GLVC, that playing a full GLVC schedule. And man, it was just like you walk in and you got teams that are now Division I. You got Bellarmine, which they were a machine. Northern Kentucky, Southern Indiana. They had Jamar Smith, and Jamar gave us 45 on 19 shots. It was the greatest experience I've ever seen in my life. And I knew Jamar. And Jamar had seen me in a shoot around, and I had a good game coming in. So he was like, hey, I got you tomorrow. I'm like, damn it. Like, this is okay, got it, man. Like, all right, cool. He is hitting shots on our guys, and he's looking at me. He's like, you next? He's like, you coming to guard me? I'm like, absolutely not. You're going to have to, you're getting through every single person before I'm coming over there, because he was in such a rhythm and a zone, and it was just like, this is another level.
And so from somebody who's done, I talk a lot about the difference between the levels, and yes, Division One is above Division Two and it's Division Three, but it's not as clear cut as you think,
Oh God,
especially
no.
when you look in the
Oh,
individuals.
man, oh man. Yeah, there was hardly any difference between the GLVC and the Horizon League when I played it my freshman year. A lot of guys were asking me about it, like, yo, so like what's the difference? I'm like, opportunity. These
Yeah,
guys got an opportunity. Some of these guys didn't, or some of these guys did get an opportunity, didn't work out there. They transferred down here. They didn't want to wait a year at the time when it was wait a year. You could transfer Division One to Division Two and be eligible right away.
right.
So a lot like Northern Kentucky, Southern Indiana, they were going and getting Big Ten guys.
Yeah,
They were
absolutely.
getting a lot of big time guys, and they were ready to roll and they were ready to play. And then, unfortunately, I get to my senior year. Coach Gamble leaves. Coach Ben Weersba comes in, who I had known before that. So I was super excited to play for him my last year. And the first day of practice, I tear my hip. I tear the labrum in my hip.
Mm.
The MRI gets misread. So I'm thinking it's a small tear, but actually it was like a giant one. And I'm getting up at 4 a.m. every day to get ready for a 6 a.m. practice every single day.
Just to get it loose.
To practice.
Yeah.
Just to try to practice. My trainer would have to tell me, okay, you're not practicing today. She would have to take my shoes, practice jersey, everything out of my locker, because there were days where she'd say no, and I would just grab my stuff and go and hobble along and try. I knew the end was near. Like, I could see it. And I was like, no, I'm fighting this. Like, no, I'm fighting this. I'm fighting this. I'm fighting this. This is all I knew. I got myself into really, really good shape going into that year. And one misstep, and it's basically done. And, I had to go out, not on my own terms, I felt like. But the day that they decided I was done, I couldn't play anymore. I kind of felt some relief because I wasn't hurting my body anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, it was tough.
You had a real up and down college career. You just did. And that's I think it's a message there for high school athletes, is to absolutely soak up every bit of it and not be looking forward too much, because it becomes it's just a completely different animal when you get to college. And if it's not an injury, it's somebody else taking your spot. It's a coach leaving. It's this happening. It's you overshot where you wanted to play and you can't play. And it's just like, there's so many things. If you're in a great situation in high school, do not be looking forward too much. And I know it's a natural instinct to do it.
It is.
But I'm sure that I'm sure that the moment you're talking about getting that offer from Milwaukee while you're standing after the game at East Peoria, and you were probably imagining going to Milwaukee and going to be a Hall of Famer there and play there for 4 years, and that was just it. Right? And you're going to the tournament, and that was it. And it didn't, and it just didn't happen to anything like that. Nothing like that. And it's.
And it is what it is. I look at it now, and I've had so much time to look back on it, and I was so angry with basketball for a while, like a few years. I was just angry with it, and I wanted to do something outside of basketball. Like, I want to go work, or I want to go do sales. I want to do something different. And I tried that, and I just have that belief that, like, we're here to do something. Like God's put you here to do something, right? And my wife so many times was telling me when I'm working jobs that weren't basketball related, she's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know what you want to do. You know what you love. And and I mean, I'm so happy that I found my way back to it.
Yeah, so just to fill in the gaps there, you left college, and you took some sales jobs and just
I went to grad school. I was thinking about actually getting into golf. I was really thinking about that, but man, oh man, that's a difficult road. And I took some different sales jobs and was working, and I was doing fine and everything with that, but wasn't happy. Like I was miserable.
Yeah.
Um, and I just remember just deciding like, okay, I got to get into coaching. I got to try to get back into it. And I'm so grateful for um, Coach Tom Locker for giving me an opportunity to come over to Notre Dame and just kind of get started and get my feet wet. I did do a year when I was at Macomb, at Western, at Macomb High School. I was a JV head coach there for a year, and was 24 at the time when I was coaching that. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first open gym got done, and I called my dad, and I just said, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Right. You said,
I apologize. I don't know
yeah.
what I'm apologizing for, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You were right. I was wrong. Like all that. Like, okay." So,
It's an
yeah.
immediate perspective
Oh,
shift
God.
when you have to be on the other side of
100%.
it. Yeah.
100%. I was a wild man then too. And thankfully, I got to Notre Dame, and, it was just like one of the coolest years though that, I was getting married in December of 2016, and coach had said, "Hey, I'm going to move you. You're going to be the sophomore head coach. We only have 4 sophomores in the program. 2 of them are up with me. You have the other 2. And then we have these freshmen that are coming in. I'd never seen them play. And we're going into our first game. I hadn't seen them play. And Patrick Hogan, who is a teaching mentor of mine, I got to student teach with and coach against, has been a friend of mine for my entire life. One of the greatest dudes you'll ever meet. And we're at half court, and I'm like, "Hey man, like take it easy on me." He's coaching at Richwoods. He's like, "You're gonna be fine. You got the Dillon brothers." I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, okay." And Connor Dillon, who's going to play at Bradley this year, goes for 29 points in his first game. His brother's got like 10 assists. Our team shoots like 65% from the field, and we win by like 30. And all I'm thinking during my rehearsal dinner, we're drawing stuff on napkins, me and my teammates from high school. Like, how are we going to get better?
Yeah.
Because how do you get better from that? And
Yeah.
that was like my coaching wired brain. And my wife is my soon to be wife is looking at me going like, basketball right now, really, right now.
Hey,
I'm like, hey, it never stops.
She's the one who told you to look into it.
That's what I said.
Like,
yeah, that's what I said. I was like, hey, if you it's going to be the good and the bad here. So
it's
such a fun year.
It's just not a part-time thing.
No, it's a full-time gig.
Not. Summer is almost here. That means AAU, summer baseball, open gyms, weight room sessions, all those things that are so valuable for a high school, college athlete to improve and get ready for the next season. And there's 3 things that an athlete needs to be working on when they're improving. First is their skill set. Whatever sport you play, you got to have the skills that are perfect for that game. You got to keep practicing those. The second is their physical body. You got to get stronger, faster, bigger, all those things that make you better at the game. And honestly, we're pretty good at those things as a society. We tackle those things really well. We work on the skill set. We work on the physical ability. The third thing is the thing that we leave, and that is the mindset. And honestly, it's the thing that we leave, but it's the most important part. You can't apply the skill set and you can't apply the physical body without having that mindset just right. And summer is a perfect time to develop that mindset. Some of the games are a little less intense, a little less pressure. It's a perfect time to try new things, try new mindsets, and watch it grow right along with the skill set and the physical body. Come back to the next season ready to go, having worked on all those 3 things, and you will have had a great summer. Get a hold of me, Coach Thomann with Mettle Coaching, and talk to me about some summer programs for athletes and working on mental toughness. Not a part-time. I have a good friend of mine. He does coaching. But he's not a teacher, and he does road construction, and he's in charge of multi-million-dollar projects on roads and stuff like this.
Yeah,
and he goes, I have to deal with this, I have to deal with this. But then he goes and he shows up and coaches some high school girls basketball, and he goes, but it's the high school girls basketball that keep me up at night. He goes,
I'm
I ought
telling
to
you.
be worried about my job.
I'm telling
But,
you.
but,
I'm telling
but
you. I was up
yeah,
till 2 a.m. that night before my wedding talking to one of my assistant coaches and just being like,
right.
Logan, what do we do?
Yeah.
But what a great group that was. And now to be able to be at East Peoria, I can honestly say, like, I've found the place I'm supposed to be at right now.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Teaching there is amazing. Coaching there is amazing. We got some great kids on the basketball team, and then the girls golf team is great too. Just loving it right now there, and so grateful for the opportunity I got from them.
Yeah, getting to coach under Coach Jarrett
Yeah,
Brown
with Coach Brown,
is fantastic. Just a really
yeah,
solid guy with
yeah,
and I know that he and I have had a lot of conversations over the last couple of years, and I know that his heart's in the right place in coaching,
oh yeah,
which is, and I think he would tell you that that's probably not that's something that wasn't always the case for him, right?
for sure.
And so
We've had conversations about that
so
too. Yeah, like I was
but I
the
think
same way. Yeah,
yeah, but I think
so many similarities.
that's a great guy to be coaching under, is somebody who's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I used to kind of do it this way, and I'm
Yeah,
seeing I need to do things differently because I don't know. I
it's a
just like
different
people.
landscape.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just like people that recognize what and make changes and for the
yep,
right and for the better. And I think that's a great guy to be working under. It's a great situation
yeah,
for you. It's great.
yeah.
And then
It's so much fun.
so I want to get into, because as we're talking about all these things you've done, having a shooter's confidence, right?
Mhm.
And one of the things I'd love to talk about, the reason I work with athletes, is because if you can learn to navigate athletics in high school, you're a little better prepared for some of the rigors of life, right?
Oh yeah,
And I think that's really good. But I don't think it's a as I said before, with the confidence, it can slip, right?
mm-hmm.
We can
Oh
get
yeah,
out of our routines, we can get out of our rhythms and lose some of that confidence we had. And I only bring
mm-hmm.
that up to talk about the fact that I had done some individual coaching with you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was something that you were really excited about it. You kind of said, hey, I forget how you put it, but it was something to the fact of, I kind of just out of my mojo, not in my rhythm, and I'm
Yep.
trying to get back to the type of guy I know I am and know I want to be. And
Yep.
I just want you to speak a little bit on that, on what you were thinking, the thought process,
Sure.
and the benefits you've gotten from that.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. Like I just, when I get home from work and the profession that we're in, we're giving a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say giving a lot, you're giving energy, you're giving yourself, and kids are needy. That's fine. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just what they are. That's in their nature. At that age, they need somebody to talk to. They need guidance. They need, whatever they may need that day. We're there to give that to them. Players as well, right? So I was kind of just coming home exhausted and just kind of looking forward to just shutting down and not being around and talking and being present and things like that. Well, when I get home, I have a wife who needs me. I have a 3-year-old daughter who needs me. I have a 2-year-old son who needs me. They don't know what my day has been like.
Yeah. Or care.
They just know dad's home. They just know dad's
Yeah.
home and let's go.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm looking at that and I'm looking at the way I'm handling things. When I put them to bed, I'm rushing to put them to bed so I can just like chill. This is my time. Right. I'm not going to get that time back.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get that time back. So you better enjoy it. Right. When you come home, better enjoy it because it goes quick. And so meeting with you was unbelievable. And like the biggest thing was find a sitcom dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You never know. It's yeah.
Like, who do you want to be? Like find a dad on the sitcom. And it just came to my mind. I hadn't watched it in a long time, but it came to my mind. I was like, Phil Dunphy from Modern Family. He's perfect.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be. And there have been hundreds of times now since we've talked where I'm in a moment of, I just think, moment of weakness, moment of just like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Phil Dunphy, what's he doing right now? What's he doing?
Yeah.
What's he going to do?
High energy, right?
High energy. Yeah. Just get it back. Just get it back for them. And that's been the biggest thing. And like finding time as a basketball husband, coaching husband, right? And a coaching dad, where do I carve time out for them outside of basketball? And we talk a lot about, come home, we put the phone away. Do we get, we just unplug away from social media? Do we unplug away from emails? All of that, right? And finding those moments and finding that time with them to do that is so special because, Leighton is 3, but she's so intuitive, man. She knows when you're paying attention, when you're not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think what cut me one time was, it was a couple months ago, and she's like, "Dad, put your phone down." I was like, yeah.
Yeah, a 3-year-old is telling you that, right? Yeah.
And I put it down, and I just grabbed. I'm like, "I'm so sorry." Like, full attention. What are we gonna go do? And so it's tough, but when you got to be on.
But I think the thing is you, and because coaching is about changing a mindset, right?
Oh yeah,
and what I'm doing, and you were going into home, and you were saying, I'm going in like these kids and my family is draining, and you're like, I don't want to feel like that, and you're still coming home after the same days with the kids, and and it can be draining, but your mindset changes it to the fact that you are now getting home with your kids. If I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're getting home with your kid and using that as not as another energy drainer, but as as actually charging you back up.
For sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it's tough sometimes too. And trust me, it ain't perfect.
No, it's not perfect.
Like, let's go sit and watch a movie right now. I'm dying. But
it's about, that's the thing about coaching is about, and that's what I try to tell people. It's about changing mindset.
Yep.
And your situation doesn't have to change for you to feel better about it. It's 100% on you. Right. Yeah. And your thing about the sitcom dad, I never know where a coaching session is going to go. That it was and that's my favorite part about coaching. I never know what question or what comment I make is going to make the progress. But I was just like, hey man, you watch TV, who do you want to be? And that's what you came with. And that's a sticking point for you. And now it's something that you like, this is the mindset. I want the Phil Dunphy mindset. That's what, and if you have that mindset and you work towards it, you can have it. Right.
Yep.
It works for coaches. It works for parents. It works for dads. It works for athletes. If you want a mindset, you can create it. You just, but it takes work.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And we talk a lot to our guys now and my girls as well. I'll have a few more this year to talk to about this, but when you're going through the tough times, the bad times, the times where you want to run, right? It's easy, not like as a dad, like, their dads out there. It's like, okay, what's the easy thing to do? Like, all right, I'm going to text my wife, hey, like you got dinner, you got the kids tonight, I'm going to go wherever, right? Or, that's something that's the easy thing to do, turn and run. Nowadays you see so many kids when they're not having a good experience or a fun experience, they're turning and running instead of, okay, what do I got to do to get better? What do I got to do to make this a better experience? And instead, it's the easy way out. And we talked to our guys a lot about, these tough experiences are only going to get tougher when you leave. I mean, you're going to get hit with some real life stuff to where you got to make some life altering decisions sometimes. And it's not easy, but if you have experience in sticking with it, working hard, trying your best, to make the best out of every situation, 9 times out of 10, it's going to work out pretty well for you in the end. And you're going to create great habits.
Yeah, but then also, and I agree with all of that. But like I said, even with you who's had all those experiences, you're like, hey, you know what? I commend you for being vulnerable enough to say, I'm gonna go talk to somebody about this, and and I know that it's changed your, and this is what you're telling me, it's changed your life at home, and it's changed your workout routine, and you probably, and now you have more energy than you did before.
Yeah, 100%. But once I got past the soreness phase of working out, because Coach Rose kills me at core boxing right now. He's killing me. He's making me do box jumps. I was doing box jumps. I haven't done those since 22 years old. I'm 36 now. But
I can't do anything. I can't do anything about the fact that you're getting old, Coach. That's. I mean, there's some of it you just can't do. I mean,
I'm telling you, yeah,
it's all part of it.
It's been such a great. I mean, that just opened up so much, for me. And I just wanted to be better. And I look back on each season as a coach, like, how can I be better? Not like X's and O's, like, oh, I made a terrible call on this,
right?
But how can I be better for the guys? Like, was I there for them the way I need to be to get them better, to be there to help them go forward? Was I there? Was I there? Like I tell them, like, I'm always here. I tell seniors every time they graduate, hey, you ever need anything, call me. I mean that 100%. But did I do enough to instill that trust that they know that? Right.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the thing about coaching, is that it used to be, I think you go through this progression as a coach where early on it's all X's and O's. Right. And then the more you progress, you're like, it's nothing to do with X's and O's. No. Like I guess you got to have the kids know it and learn it, but it just doesn't, because if you don't do if you don't do the mentality, if you don't develop the relationships, the X's and O's, they're not going to happen. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good thing to be looking at in the off season is, how can I be a better human? Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's just going to help that's going to help my coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of how I've looked at this off season, and, excited to get to June with these guys, and just, hopefully they can see that, I'm more energized, ready to go for them.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. So we're about out of time. So the last question I always ask is, what did I not ask? What did I not ask that I should have?
Oh man, that's a great question. I can't really even think. I don't know. I love the question you always get, like, who's your favorite athlete and why?
Well, tell me.
Right there.
I mean, it's you got Bird back there. I get it. I mean,
Larry Bird for sure.
I mean, if we could all have that confidence, man.
I mean, that was my guy. I mean, I was such a nerd growing up. Like, they'd watch, like, the new movies that come out. I would have all the Jordan, Magic, Bird videos, and I would watch them on repeat.
Yeah.
And what was so cool was, like, the one day my son finally, like, sat with me and watched the Larry Bird video with me.
Yeah.
Like, a moment that it's like, okay, like, this is seared into my brain forever. We're watching Larry Bird together, right?
So, do you remember so since you watched this, do you know the old NBA Superstars video? And they had a song for each one of them.
Small Town, yeah. John Mellencamp. That became my favorite song because of it.
Charles Barkley was the Warrior.
That was great.
Yeah, and you had
Take My Breath Away was Jordan. I was Jordan, like, Top Gun song. All right. Yeah.
My brother and I used to watch that thing. I can tell you every one of them. Then they had the one with the little guys like Spud Webb and those guys. They had that song with them.
Yep. It was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good.
It was good.
Yeah. I mean, that was just a better. I just look at that time.
I know, it's fun.
It was
fun.
Man.
Yeah. Anyway, Coach, we're just. But hey, I appreciate you coming on, and
thanks for having me.
Can't thank you enough. It's been fantastic, and we will stay in touch. And good luck. Good luck this year coming up with basketball and with girls golf.
It's a great gig. It's a great gig. I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I know. And you said that, you left the sales and you came back, and yes, look, I know that there's less teachers and less coaches, and yes, I know it. I know it makes less money, but I'm telling you, like, it's an extremely rewarding experience, so long as you have the mindset going around with the right mindset with it.
And when you go through it and then you've found your purpose in life,
Yeah.
it's the most powerful thing in the world. You can't put a
I
dollar
agree.
sign on it, man. You just
100%.
can't. You just can't.
I'm with
It's
you.
awesome. Yes, sir.
I'm with you. All right, Coach.
All
Thank
right,
you.
man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. See ya.
Parents of athletes know that confidence and belief are fundamental for success. We want them to play without fear and without anxiety, but once those negative thoughts take over, it can derail years of work. Turning that anxiety into belief is similar to building strength and speed. It just takes intentional effort over time. Mental Mettle coaching provides the individual drills needed to build the positive mindset necessary for success on the court and in life. Contact today to schedule a free coaching session and start building mental toughness in your athlete. So great conversation with Coach Ryan Thornton. And one of the things that if you've ever seen him play, if you're from the Central Illinois area and you remember that team got second state, and just a really good story with those guys and Coach Thornton playing for his dad, Coach Thornton. One of the things you would remember about Ryan is that, and we talked about it in there a little bit, he has that shooter's confidence and just that the idea that the next one is always going in. And that's a great, it's a great mentality if a kid can have it. They love just that shooter's confidence and feeling that unwavering ability in yourself. And it's something that we're trying. It's always the goal for an athlete to have that kind of confidence. But as we mentioned there, it's not a lifelong thing. And confidence can wane, and not just confidence, but your well-being and your emotional well-being. It ebbs and flows because life is a roller coaster. And when we look at Ryan's life, we're talking about his junior year. They had a really good team. He gets that technical. He gets pulled out of the game, rightly so. His dad keeps him out, and he's so upset with himself he doesn't want to keep playing basketball, right? So that shooter's confidence is gone then, right? He's not even enjoying playing. And then he comes back his senior year, and they have just this great run and do really well, and everything's fantastic. And then he goes up to Milwaukee and barely gets to play. It's not a great situation. And I'm sure his confidence and well-being waned quite a bit up there to the fact that he transferred down, took a redshirt spot at Bradley, comes into UIS. Got to be excited about that, getting a scholarship offer to go play at UIS, and then struggles with injury. And anybody which is most athletes, anytime you have an injury and suffer an injury, your emotional well-being goes with it. That's that roller coaster again, right? You get a dip there, and you're not sure what your self-worth is because you can't even play your sport, and your confidence, your well-being take a hit. And then he ends up not even being able to play and kind of being done with basketball, and then getting back into, going into a sales job, which is nothing wrong with that. You can apply a lot from athletics into a sales job and things like that, but he wasn't enjoying himself. He wasn't doing what he wanted to do. So he got back into coaching, and things were great, but then he was noticing other spots in his life that he wasn't enjoying. He wasn't enjoying he wasn't acting, he wasn't being the father he wanted to be coming home. And so there's part of his life's really enjoying and part he's not. And that's just it about life, is there's always something to be confident about and something not to be confident about, and things ebb and flow, and we have successes, we have failures, we have peaks, we have valleys, and our well-being can tend to flow with it, right? Our self-worth, our confidence can struggle whenever different things, not always in our control, happen. So things go well, our well-being is good. Things go poorly, and our well-being is bad. And I contend that if that's your case, if that happens to you, you have circumstantial well-being, right? You only feel good when things are going well, and you feel bad when things aren't going well. And that's problematic. And I'm not saying this is the case for Ryan. But what I'm really saying is that's everybody. I'm just using him as this case example because he came to me and we talked about doing some coaching. He knew I worked with athletes. He knew I worked with coaches. And he wasn't really coaching focused. He just wanted to change some things he wanted to do with his life and what he was doing with his family. And that's the thing about this coaching. I'm trying to develop this well-being that is less reliant on outcomes and more reliant on yourself, and knowing that regardless of what's going on, I can have confidence, I can have well-being regardless of what's going on outside. He wanted to get into coaching, he wanted to get into teaching, and he loved it, but he realized that was really draining, and that focus on it being draining and taking a lot of energy, he let that idea come home with him. And then he felt like he was too drained to work out. He was too drained to hang out with his kids, too drained to give, his family and his wife the time that they deserved. And he wanted to give them. And it was from a mindset that he was drained. And that's one of those circumstantial things is teaching, coaching. A lot of people's jobs are draining. You come home and you're tired, and you would say that your priority is your family over your job. But when your job can be draining, it doesn't look that way because you give effort at your job, but then you don't give the effort you want at home. And that's you're not honoring the values. If family's really important to you, like it is for Ryan, he wasn't honoring that value, and we had to change that mindset around it. That yes, I'm drained, but I can find a way to have my family charge my batteries, not deplete them further. And it worked for him because he knew that his family was everything to him. So if he can see that as spending extra time with his daughter and his son and his wife, that's actually going to charge his batteries and make him better. And that's what he's doing now. And we didn't change anything in his situation, not a thing. We just changed his mindset around it. And he was talking about being, the modern family reference. And that was just him. That was me tapping into his culture and what he knew. And we could have gone any way, but he referenced a TV dad that he wanted to be more like, and in specific areas why he wanted to be like that. And that's the way coaching is we figure out where you are and we figure out where you want to be. And he didn't like where he was and he wanted to be more like this. So he set his mind to start doing it, and I helped him do that. And now he's starting to work out more. He's spending more time with his kids, and I would wager to say it's probably giving him more energy at his job, and he's going to do a better job at his job. And if that sounds like a commercial, it kind of is. If it's not a commercial for me, it's a commercial for coaching, in the sense that focusing on your well-being and seeing a coach and figuring out the areas in your life where you aren't where you want to be and where you want to be, and how we can level out that roller coaster that is life. It's worth the investment, man. It is worth it. As a coach who puts so much time and effort into people, you need to be putting some time and effort into yourself. And that's my commercial there is put that time and effort into yourself. You'll be able to put more time into others, and it's going to be worth it. So as always, thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being part of the Mettle podcast and enjoying it. I really appreciate it. I've been your host, Coach Matt Thomann. This is the Mettle podcast, and always remember to forge your mettle. Mettle is a person's ability to face adversity in a spirited and resilient manner. It is a great skill to have for athletics and for life, but it is not something we are born with. If you want it, you have to forge your mettle. And if you listen to the Mettle podcast, you already know that, but not everybody else does yet. So help me out by ordering and wearing some sweet The Mettle podcast gear. We've got short sleeve tees, long sleeve tees, and some super comfortable hoodies. Order online today and you can have your gear in no time. But the best part is that every order helps support the show and helps me spread the message that mental toughness is a trait that can and should be built. So find the link in the show notes, order your gear, and start showing that you know how to forge your mettle. Thanks again for listening to the Mental Mettle Podcast, produced by Coraggio Media, sponsored by QuickCut, a video management platform for every level of play, and by Mental Mettle Coaching, helping athletes learn to face adversity in a spirited and resilient way. The Mental Mettle Podcast is created each week to help players develop more mental toughness, and that is something that will help all of us. So help me out and like and share the Mental Mettle Podcast with your friends. Until next time, keep forging your mettle.